Don't need my heart. Don't need my heart. Don't need my heart. Let's see how this goes. Finally changed my my now live picture. We'll see if it gets banned for sexually explicit or implied nudity, because don't you know, once you put a shirt on, then your breasts stop existing, according to mainstream media. Mainstream social media, I mean. Just letting people know I started streaming. So most of the people are not gonna go on TikTok if they're not already on TikTok. Turn off the lives by Faisal, Mirza, all those kinds of names as per usual. There. All right. Let's do this. I figured I'd get some moral support by streaming while I catch up on DMs. I'm already caught up on Mastodon because I use Mastodon all the time, and Mastodon, you know, the comments are generally pretty positive, so it's not too stressful. I joined Blue Sky yesterday. I do not plan to use it a lot because it is designed by capitalists, so it's, you know, the shitification is imminent. But, you know, it is a mainstream platform, so I don't have a lot of choices as far as trying to reach people to share the good word about topless equality, because even though I do all that stuff on Mastodon all the time, there's just not a lot of people on Mastodon. So anyway, yeah, so let's get to this. So first I'm going to knock off Patreon, which I was on, yesterday or the day before? I think the day before. And I got a DM from a guy who was on the $9 tier, just being really gross at me. And I replied, you know, why would you send me shit like that? And then I took a screenshot of it, and I did him the favor of hiding his name. But he, yeah, so I haven't checked it then. I'm sure he's replied in a fit of rage, because men don't like being called out for being demeaning asshole perverts. And I've been delaying it because I'm like, I don't want to get yelled at. But I'm trying to be interactive on Patreon, even though for some reason people are weird and they don't really reply to posts or anything on Patreon. It's very frustrating. Some comments on this live were filtered to protect the community's experience. It says that, but then it won't tell me what it was that got censored, and I'm like really curious, even though it's probably like show me your tits, even though like it's TikTok, dude. Unless you look male, you can't show your nipples, just like every single fucking mainstream social media site. Anyway, 123 people, Jesus Christ. Do you think you're actually gonna find porn on TikTok? Because I'm afraid to break it to you. TikTok's mainstream media. They don't allow female nipples. Clapper, you can. I'm assuming that's some kind of sexual thing, but okay, anyway, so let's go. Here we go. I'm crunching. It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad. Direct messages. Okay. Wow. It's actually not bad. So his original message was, "You look so beautiful. Your breasts are perfect." I replied, "I really wish you'd actually watch what the videos are about. Your message to me is extremely demeaning and totally defeats the purpose or the point of my mission for topless equality. Why would you say something like this to a woman on the internet? My nipples being visible is not an invitation to you sexually harass me. Do better." And I had taken a screenshot of it and I had posted it, you know, to my various social media as an example of like the kind of shit I don't like to get. I am stuck in this horrible fucking catch-22 where the only places I can post my heinous female nipples are on platforms that nobody uses, like Mastodon, or on sex sites. Because there are no sites, there are no places on the internet that allow female nipples in any kind of circumstance that doesn't also allow porn. Or at the very least full nudity, but like there's basically no places on the internet that allow full nudity without allowing porn. So I'm constantly stuck in this fucking cycle where I'm trying to normalize female nipples in non-sexual situations so that maybe someday we can have the same exact fucking rights as men, but I can only do that on sites that have full sexual content, so the people who are finding my content are already looking for sexual material. So of course they're going to treat it as sexually. I mean, even if I was allowed to post on YouTube or whatever, you know, they'd still treat it sexually, but at least I'd have a chance. Kids are being loud. Snow day! Yet another snow day. Kids have been home for a week and a half. It's great. Anyway, you know, at least if I was able to post to mainstream sites like YouTube or whatever, there's a small chance I could find people who could be... No! Link share! Please! I'm yelling so they can hear me two rooms away. Oh, 5 and 7. Such delightful ages. Anyway. Right. So if I was allowed to post on mainstream sites that aren't just meant, you know, that don't include porn and therefore aren't mostly used by people looking for porn, then there could be a chance of finding some people who are like, you know, I just never really thought about how nonsense it is to have different levels of censorship. Sorry, I feel like there's something in my teeth. Different levels of censorship based on what gender you look like. But if they're already on a porn site, they're already, the blood is already in the wrong body part to listen to anything I have to say. Anyway, so I said, you know, your message to me is extremely demeaning, and to my shock, he replied, I did not mean it that way. I apologize that it offended you. So I'm going to type a response. Holy cow. I am actually flabbergasted that you replied civilly. This never happens. Anytime I have called out a man before for writing demeaning sexual messages at me, they've just doubled down in their nastiness. So honestly, thank you for giving me a little bit of hope. I understand. Sorry, the typing is loud, but I didn't want to bother with the tripod and everything, so I just have my phone literally leaning against my monitor. I understand that, let's see, my nipples being, I understand that the idea of women wanting topless equality and having our nipples visible, but not... Kids are being fucking annoying! Let's see. Having our nipples visible, but not wanting to have sexual comments made at us is a revolutionary concept that many people, men especially, struggle with, but you've just shown a capacity for learning to be better, and I'm really proud of you. No sarcasm. There. That was super unexpected. That's like literally never happened. I've like never, ever, ever, ever had a man say something sexual to me, and I was like, you know, that's shitty, don't say that to me. And they didn't go like, oh, you nasty bitch, like, of course you got your tits on the internet, like, you want us to make comments like that, don't pretend otherwise, blah blah blah. Never. This is amazing. Live on camera, you have witnessed something magical. Yeah, anyway, all right, so cool, Patreon's done. Now comes the fun stuff. And by fun stuff, I mean, even more demeaning shit. By the way, I made this meme really quickly. Can I flip the camera while I'm streaming? I don't know. No, go away. Can I flip the camera? No, I'm trying to flip the camera. I guess I can't. All right, so here you go. Is it showing? I made it really quickly. It says, it's the guy sweating meme, and it says, ban a Patreon donor for sending me sexually harassing DMs, or look the other way because the perverts are the only ones willing to send money. Because yes, God forbid a content creator want to have any kind of income to, you know, pay for video hosting, editing software subscriptions. God forbid any kind of compensation for the many hours I put into creating my content. And, you know, I'm banned from monetization because my content gets banned everywhere that even has monetization as an option as sexually explicit nudity, merely for being topless on camera, while men can be fucking wearing a Speedo, licking their own fucking nipple, you know, pretending they're that flexible, or at least playing with their nipples live on camera, and they don't get banned anywhere. And if you don't understand how fucking bullshit that is, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to say about that. But yeah, no, I mean, this is TikTok. Everyone on TikTok lives is garbage, but if by some miracle anyone's watching this right now that isn't a trash human, and you'd like to help me make better videos, you know, higher quality videos, maybe even find a video editor to hire someday so that I have more time to make videos, you can go to my Patreon, patreon.com/ToplessTopics. And, you know, you could, for as little as $2 a month, you can help me try to improve the quality of my content. Because like I said, I'm banned from monetization on the platforms that even allow monetization, and I can't get sponsors to return my emails. I keep having to remake accounts as I get banned. So getting around the shadow bans and the bans to build up the numbers that get a sponsor to be like, maybe we should work with this person. You know, I can't get there. Not to mention that most sponsors are going to be like, what? She's talking about nipples? She's a cam whore? Like, no, I'm not a cam whore. I am totally pro sex worker. Sex work is work. It doesn't make any sense why sex work is illegal, but you can like work someone to death in a coal mine, you know, the nonsense anti-sex attitude that most countries, but the US especially, have, not especially as in, I mean, there's definitely countries that are even more anti-sex work, but the US is pretty high up there. That doesn't make sense, but I am not a sex worker. I do not do porn. I do not flex my bits at the camera. I do not stick anything anywhere. I do my videos on PeerTube, which is self-hosting because there's no mainstream platforms that allow non-sexual female nipples, at least when I post it. Other people can post it and it doesn't get banned. If I post exactly the same video, I get banned. I do this stuff because my whole mission is to normalize the sight of female nipples outside of non-sexual situations so that maybe people can think about the fact that like, how is it that male nipples can be posted anywhere and nobody fucking cares, but a female looking person, I put that in air quotes because it doesn't even matter what you identify as. It doesn't matter what your genitals are. It only matters whether algorithms can look at you and be like, oh, this is a male or a female. They cannot post their nipples anywhere without it getting marked as sexually explicit nudity. Hi, Cleo. I found you via a Nature's Living Show podcast episode. I remember that. So it's funny because I actually just posted a video earlier today about another exchange I had with a straight white cis male nudist who, surprise, surprise, turned out to be a Trumper. And they said this insane thing that Trump has done more for Free the Nipple because his wife has sexy pictures online, and while Biden and Kamala and Jill Biden don't have topless pictures online. And I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? But if you have watched my videos for a while, I used to, like years ago, I used to kind of lean into the nudist thing just because it was so nice to have an opportunity to talk about stuff besides the fact that nudity and sex are not the same thing. You can be naked without being sexual. You could be clothed while being hella sexual. Many music videos I could direct you to that is amazing that those don't get banned on YouTube as sexually explicit, but me sitting there motionless without a shirt does. Anyway, I used to lean into the nudist thing, but then like over the years, I really started pushing away from the nudist label. And I have a video at toplesstopics.org/no more nudism. I didn't write nudist, even though the title of the video has nudist in it, but it's no more nudism, no spaces, where I talk about why I stopped calling myself a nudist. So if you want to see it, you can go there. I have this censored version on YouTube where I put a handmaid's outfit over my body because, female nipples are sexually explicit. Invite Pup. Sure, let's do that. I've never done that before. I've never had a live stream before because it's always just like generic people I've never met before.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, this is the first time.
I know, I'm excited.
How does this work? Can other people hear you?
Yeah, they should be able to.
This is exciting. So hi. Yes, this is someone that I just started mutual following, and it's been great because it's like I feel like I'm the only. I mean, you're not a free the nipple activist, but you are like a sex worker and stuff like that, and you seem cool. So I'm glad that our paths crossed.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not something I talk about often, but it's definitely a cause I support. I mean, just like being in the spaces that I'm in, I'm around a lot of nudity. It's just like a part of my job. And to me, it's become very like, it's a thing, the state of being without clothing isn't something that should be inherently schmexualized or anything like that. I don't know what I can say on this app, but like, it's a thing, it's a state of being, and it shouldn't be, there shouldn't be unfair standards applied to one side because of who they are,
because of patriarchy. Right. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I have interviews that I've done with sex workers, and like that's something that we talk about. The only reason that people freak out over female nipples is because they're banned from view, except in sexually explicit situations. If female nipples were allowed to exist the same way male nipples were, people wouldn't freak out over them. There's plenty of body parts on women, like, hair, necks, elbows, or whatever, that in other cultures are sexualized, but in American cultures it's not. So seeing a photo of a woman with her neck visible or whatever, people aren't freaking out over it the way they do over nipples. But yeah.
No, especially like I'm a bigger person, I have a little bit of a chest as well, and like what I have would be fine. I could go shirtless at a beach anywhere and it wouldn't be a problem, but
I do admit, like when I'm at a pool or whatever and there's a guy there who, I don't mean this in a fatphobic way, just stating the facts, has larger breasts than I do.
Right.
And he's allowed to go without a shirt.
No, exactly. No, I totally get it.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. It's misogyny. Like there is literally I have yet, maybe someone has one. I'm turning the heater down. I have yet to hear an argument for why female presenting nipples should be banned as sexually explicit nudity, but male nipples aren't. That doesn't break down to, well, because we've decided female looking bodies are sexually explicit. Like we've decided that female bodies are sexual.
Yeah, unfortunately,
there's just no fucking explanation for it.
Right. I mean, and unfortunately, it's just control. People will find any way they can to control another group, and this is one way they've found that they can do that.
No. It's puritanical, and it's puritanical plus patriarchy.
Right. Oh, I mean, oh my goodness, the roots of religion run so deep in how this country operates, and everyone says, no, we're a secular society. I'm like, have you seen some of the laws? I mean,
have you seen the Supreme Court? Like,
well, see,
Amy Cohanger Barrett,
right? And I always say, like, if that's the case, if religion had no influence on this country, why was being gay bad? And people always study, and they're like, well, I mean, and like, there's no non-religious reason at all. Yeah. Period.
Yeah. I just think it's icky. Like, okay, why? Yeah, question why you feel that way.
No,
absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah. it's funny because like I started a podcast actually recently with one of my friends who's been in my ToplessTopics community for a long time, Matthew Richardson, and he's a bigger black guy he's a nudist, but he's not an asshole nudist, and he's Christian, but he's like one of these unicorns where he's a Christian, but he's not like insulting others and judging them and everything like that, and like he will straight up admit, you know, there's a lot of shitty Christians out there. He doesn't hear someone critique Christians and be like, well, I'm not like that. So he's a really cool dude. And yeah, we've only done one episode so far. We need to sit down and do another one. But the whole impetus behind the podcast idea is that we've had different upbringings. So like he's Christian, I'm, you know, agnostic. He's a guy, I'm a girl. He's black, I'm white. But we still like, we respect each other. And I wouldn't even say we necessarily disagree on stuff. It's just literally more that we've had different experiences. And we both love video games. And so, you know, we get to talk about like representation in video games and gamer culture and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's called the Progressive Geeks Podcast.
Okay.
The nerds, but yeah, and we're hoping that like we can establish ourselves and start like having interviews with people and stuff too, because he also does photography work, and like he's done, you know, nude photography work, and that's something to talk about. That's another thing with like normalizing nudity, is if you have nude models, like they understand the difference. Like there's a huge I don't understand how so many people get confused between sexual nudity and non-sexual nudity. Like there's some poses that are on the line, but for the most part, I would argue that someone in a music video wearing a teacup bikini going like, you know, like that's way more sexual than a girl sitting there under a tree reading a book.
Right.
And yet American culture is like, no, that's okay, but that's sexually explicit nudity that has to be banned. And I don't understand that. I don't understand people that think about it and go, yeah, that makes sense. And it's really frustrating that the majority of people just don't even think about it at all. They just automatically are like, yeah, female nipples are sexual.
And it's so interesting because when you look through history, like there are pieces of art that are revered by everyone that include nudity, like the Venus one.
I think one of the Venus de Milo, or like one of the Justice is Blind or something or whatever. They have like nipples, yeah.
Like there are like dozens of examples that, you know, you can easily pick out of artistic nudity, and people are, you know, people will accept those because they're like hundreds of years old, and like they, you know, but if someone were to try and do that today, it's like it's somehow scandalous, and it doesn't make sense to me.
I think it's actually going back. We're getting more anti-nudity even in older stuff, and of course it's not helped by all the algorithms, which, you know, somehow can't detect like actual hate speech, but they can detect 200-year-old, I mean, or, you know, like a Renaissance photo or whatever that has a female nipple in it, and they ban that, and people don't even notice it, of course, because it's getting banned. And it's just one of those things that people don't notice until it happens to them, until they get a post banned. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I guess this is a problem.
Yeah. Which is so funny. It's like people won't pay attention to anything until it affects them. And then usually by the time it's affecting them, it's just far too late.
Yeah. Yeah, or they just have this attitude of like, well, this is the state of things, so why bother? Like, I did a live, just like a really casual live, I think Tuesday. Yeah, so on Tuesdays, I usually stream on joystick.tv, which is a sex site, but I have to use that to like edit my videos and stuff, live stream while I edit my videos, because of course female nipples can only be allowed on porn sites, as we've discussed. But because my kids are home on snow days, I streamed on Twitch instead, and I was playing Dead Space, which is a fun but horribly violent game, as so many video games are. And of course, every time I'm playing a violent video game on Twitch, I can't help but remark over and over, like, love that I can like cut someone's head off, but I can't sit here without a shirt without getting banned. And I was co-streaming on TikTok, and I tried to co-stream using TikTok Live as well as OBS, because TikTok Live like keeps hiding the keys, so I can't set it up through OBS, and it was making my frame rate suck. So I just streamed my screen on Twitch, and then I just used my phone on TikTok and was like, hey, if you want to actually see my screen, go to twitch.tv/cerigotgame, CERI got game. I don't know how many people actually went there. But anyway, so I was doing that, and it doesn't matter, like, live streaming games or whatever. I talk about the same kind of stuff. I talk about, like, progressive, issues or whatever. And I had some guy show up and was like, why even bother? Nothing's going to change. Like, they're like, you can't change in an instant, so why even bother? I was like, really? Like, so your attitude is, if you don't like the way something is, just suck it up? Like, and then, like, he didn't like my response, so he went in my account and, like, went to a bunch of my videos and just, like, shit talked me and called me, like, a dumb, ugly feminist, etc., feminazi and everything like that. Because they always do that.
Yeah.
The people that oppose topless equality, either they say, oh, well, he said this too during the stream, was like, oh, well, sexual assault rates are going to go through the roof if female nipples are allowed to exist. As if, one, female nipples or rape isn't already illegal, and two, it doesn't matter. You can be fully clothed and you'll still get dragged behind a dumpster.
Well, see,
yeah,
and when people say things like that, I'm like, you're telling on yourself. You know, you're really telling on yourself. Like, that says so much more about you than anything else that you would say something like that. Because that's, like, not even a thought that would enter my, like, what?
Yeah. Well, I tell people, like, you're only insulting like, when men say men will not be able to control themselves, you're insulting your own gender. You're saying that men are so base driven, they're so instinctual that they can't control themselves when they're, like, sexually aroused. Like, you're only insulting yourself, dude.
Right. And, like, obviously I don't identify as male anymore, but, like, when I did, I never had, like, it was never a problem controlling myself. I don't know, I went through high school as a male identified teenage person, never had any problems there, didn't lose control. So, like, when people say those things,
even if you saw a female student wearing with a bra strap visible, you were able to stop yourself from sexually assaulting her. Damn, that must have been so hard.
Well, and the funny thing, like, I was in marching band, right? And so, like, before,
so was my husband.
Yeah, and before games, we'd all be changing, like, one big room. Never an issue.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, like the whole idea of, like, co-ed places or whatever. Well, so I'm a glutton for video essays, and there's a couple out there that I really like. Like, one is Verily Bitchy, and then there's another one, and I can't remember what it is right now, but basically it's two women and they break down things in movies or whatever, and they did one about, like, the goofy voyeur or whatever, and it's basically, like, the characters in movies and stuff where they're, like, sneaking a glance at a woman, through a peephole, or, like, someone, like, they're like, turn around while I change, but they're watching them in a mirror or whatever, and it's played as this, like, innocuous thing, and it's like, no, they're breaking that person's consent. They're watching them without their consent.
Yep.
And, it's like people who talk about sexual education and sex work and stuff like that talk a lot about consent. And I think people don't really think about the various facets of that. One of them is, you don't look at someone's naked body without consent. And two, even if they're naked or topless, that's not an invitation for you to grope them or to make sexually explicit comments at them. Like, it's there's a little bit more conversation about, like, just because a girl is wearing a short skirt doesn't mean that she's, like, comment on how much you love my ass or whatever. There's obviously still a lot of people, especially men, that are like, no, it doesn't. Of course it means she wants me to talk about it, and that, but people, I lost my train of thought. This is very unplanned. I literally was just going to be like, I'll stream while I check my messages, and then had the unexpected pleasure of
I'm happy to be here
for the first time.
Yeah, and one thing I hear often, and I hate that this comparison has to be made, but, like, it's the thing that seems to get into men's heads is, like, would you want that said to you by a gay man? And so many men are like, well, no, because, like, I don't want that. That's not me. And I'm like, okay, well, now you know how people feel. And again, I hate that the comparison has to be made, because really I should just be able to say, hey, don't do that. And people should be like, oh, okay. But it's amazing how quickly tunes change when suddenly they're placed in the position of the one being the target of said advances.
Sorry, I was just wondering, can I change the name of the stream, or once you started, is that what you're stuck with?
I don't know. I've never tried to change it.
Yeah, well, I don't see an option. It's fine. It doesn't matter. I'm like, I always get all these people flood in. Like when I started this stream, I had 150 people, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then now it's down to 10 because they, I presume, come on looking for porn, and it's like, why are you looking for porn on TikTok? Are you kidding me?
Well,
anyway,
usually what'll happen, because I get the same thing, is like usually it'll push it to a bunch of people, and like a bunch of people will see it and like briefly click in, and then they'll leave because they're like, oh, it's not like, you know.
Yeah. Not vibing.
Right.
I don't really watch other people's stream very often anyway. Pretty much the only time I watch people stream is if I either like have already formed a connection with them. So like if I've talked to someone at VidCon before and we've had a conversation that, you know, interested me in them, or just rarely if it's like a video game that I'm interested in but afraid of playing or something. But so I can't really talk. I don't watch a lot of streams, but I also don't have a lot of time, so.
Right. I mostly watch either if I know the person or if it's a game that I'm interested in. There's a couple of streamers that do that, but
yeah, because it's like I love horror games, but I'm way too scared to play them generally. Although for some reason when I was playing Dead Space, I was like fine with it, and I was like, what? Well, I think it's just because you have guns in that one.
Right? I mean, oh my gosh, it's so true. But like, I always like, if I'm playing a game like that, I have to be in like a well-lit room. And I honestly find that if I'm streaming it or like chatting with people over like Discord or something, it makes it so much easier because then it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm all alone and you know.
Well, so Dead Space was actually one of the first ones I ever Let's Played, because before I even started Topless Topics, which is 10 years old, like I've been making videos on YouTube since the first year of YouTube's existence. And that account that I mentioned on cerigotgame, or on Twitch, cerigotgame, was originally called Games Are for Fight, and I hate myself for picking a hard to spell name, but and I did a Let's Play of Dead Space back then, and at that point you could only have up to 15-minute videos on YouTube, because like I said, this is a while ago. Right. And I remember it would take me so long to get through the game because I was like creep. And so when I was Let's Playing the remake on Tuesday, and I think I started on a Friday the week before, I would like get to a part and be like, oh my god, I got here in like 20 minutes, but when I Let's Played it before, it took me 2 hours to get here.
Right.
And it's because I'm live interacting with people while I do it. So yeah, it is less scary, you know. And like I this is random, you know, talking about video games now, but I love video games. So, yeah, I don't know. It's fun. It's like, I don't really get to socialize in real life because my kids are always here. I don't have a babysitter. You know, when my husband gets home from work, he wants to do stuff together, but he doesn't want to go out. So I can't like go meet people there. So basically live streaming is like my only social interaction.
No, I get it. I mean, like, up until recently, I was in college, and like especially since I was a music major, you know, if I wasn't going to class, I was practicing. So a lot of like my interaction would be talking to people online because it's something I could do, like on my way to practice, on my way to class, things like that. And even now, I live in a very like small town, and a lot of my friends are out other places. So at this point in time, I'm not getting a ton of social interaction. Yeah. I do like it when I'm with my partner in LA because we constantly go out. We go to a few different dungeons and things like that. So,
see, I wish that okay, so I was born and raised in San Diego, and I have been going to VidCon every year since I think the third one. And then in 2016, we moved up here to Portland. And so I didn't go for a few years because I had my, you know, babies. And then the pandemic hit, and so it got canceled for 2 years. And then finally I was able to go again in 22 and 23, and I already bought my ticket for 24. And it's in Anaheim, but, you know, it's like an hour away from LA. And I keep like trying to make friends with people. So it's like, oh, I can hang out with you while I'm there. But it's so hard to like get people to hang out. Like, I don't know. People always like, yeah, let's do it. And then it never materializes.
Right. And when is VidCon, if you don't mind me asking?
Huh?
When is VidCon?
It's June. It's mid-June or later June. And it's an interesting beast because obviously, you know, capitalism, it's focused on what's going to make the most money. And I have been making content for a really long time. I started back when there was no such thing as like a YouTuber, and it was like if you didn't make videos, you had no idea like what it was. And ironically, sorry, my hair's a mess. I need to take a shower. Anyway, ironically, you would actually get extremely shamed if you were ever like, you know, hey, I just started this new thing called a Patreon, blah, blah, blah. People are like, you're e-begging. Now, for years now, people start making content with the intention of becoming rich.
Yep.
And it's so weird to me. And I mean, money is nice. It'd be nice if I had a larger house. It'd be nice if I had, you know, the money for a nanny or something like that. Although I would feel weird about having someone take care of my kids all the time. But at the same time, I would probably spend a lot of it on charity and stuff just because, I don't know. But who knows? I'm not rich, so I can't say. But it's just so strange to me that creativity is, it's still there. There's still people being creative on YouTube and stuff, but you really have to hunt for them.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, you know, last year, and you know, with the trends and everything, like being a leftist commentator, not video commentator, but you know, live streamer or whatever, BreadTube, it's becoming profitable to be a leftist. Like Hanabi with his like $2 million, you know, LA mansion. And so like I would tell people about my content and they'd be like, oh, you must be making a lot of money. And I'm like, one, my content is banned everywhere. And when it's not banned outright, I'm banned from monetization. And two, like sponsors, you know, we haven't reached the point where companies think it's profitable to support topless equality. Like June, you know, everybody loves gay people in June all of a sudden, but we haven't reached that point. Or like at the height of BLM, like we would pass by like a hot fast food joint and they would have like Black Lives Matter on their marquee. Right. And it was like, what? Which is good. I mean, they all stopped that because it's not trending anymore. And, you know, unfortunately, the reality is for social progress to happen, we have to have enough people speaking out about it that convinces the capitalistic forces that they'll make more money pandering, you know. There's a good video about woke brands, and I can't remember who did it. It might have been H Bomber guy, but it was one of those, you know, bread tubers talking about like the falseness of they'll pretend to support this thing, but then they'll like donate to Republican senators who are literally legislating against the thing, and how you really have to do your research on, you know, is that brand actually supporting things or are they profiting off you being like, oh, well, you know, like video games with female characters, you know, there's games I've bought because they had a female character in it, even if it was like a game type I wasn't really interested in, just because I want to like encourage, you know, break the already bullshit, but break the go woke, go broke mentality. I mean, it doesn't matter how many times it gets disproven, you still have people saying that. And, right. You know, I want to convince companies that it's worth, you know, maybe not always pandering to the straight white cis male demographic, because there's a lot of gamers out there that are not straight white cis men, and we also have money.
Well, exactly. I'm like, even like, obviously from my perspective, like marketing more to people of color would be huge. And not just including the token, oh, look, we have the black character option.
A black character. Right? Yeah, that's something that M. Rich and I actually talk about a lot. Well, we talk about it like casually, and now we have to like put it into the PDF. What the heck, the podcast. But like he'll give a shout out to games that have good examples of black hair options. That's not just an afro. And so like he says, like Cyberpunk has some pretty good options and stuff. And like it's kind of the thing that if you're not playing a character, you know, if you're not a person of color or a woman or whatever, you maybe don't even think about, you don't even notice because you're just so used to everyone being white. And there was something, I can't remember if I was watching it or playing it, I don't know, but I was watching it and then I was like, every single person in this story is white. And it was just like, it belatedly occurred to me, and you know, I imagine the frustration of being into something like gaming or whatever, and it's like, if there's a single person of color, you know, that's like they're gonna hit so many stereotypes and just, yeah, or gay, or often woman, you know, and there's like the femme fatales. There's a couple of games out there that are now starting to have like the big loud female types too, like Borderlands comes to mind. But yeah, anyway, that's why I loved Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, Barrett. Although he was a little stereotypical in that he was like loud, but
right.
You know, I guess you gotta take what you can get.
At this point, really,
Aloy,
it's
right? Like the whole, I was just gonna say the whole stupid thing where they're like, they made Aloy ugly, and it's like, she doesn't look like a supermodel, so that's ugly? Like, what are your standards, dude? Like, God forbid she look like a regular person, you know? She still looks badass, and she is badass.
Right.
Yeah, Borderlands good. Sorry, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, no, definitely in these days and age, it's like, if I see something with, like, even, like, stereotypical representation, I'm like, I'll take what I can get.
Yeah. Pretty much. Beggars can't be choosers.
Right.
Well, what sucks is that of the games that do have, like, romantic options or sorry, gay romantic options or polyamory or trans people or whatever, we have very few mainstream games where that's available. Mostly the only place you see it is like indie dating sims, where like the whole thing is about them being, you know, gay dating. And there's a couple of examples, like Baldur's Gate, you know, you can have gay romance. Mass Effect, which people were like freaking the fuck out over, which was really funny because it's like they're not showing anything, and even if they were, like, but you know, these big epic role-playing games are pretty much the only ones. But I don't know, it just frustrates me. And you know, of course, it's like so often, especially on like TV shows and stuff, if there's a gay character or whatever, that's like their main trait is that they're gay.
Right. Right.
God forbid they have a personality and also happen to be gay.
Exactly. Well, it's like, it's modern Family, right? Like the gay couple, like they're so stereotypically, like,
they're likable, but yeah, they're so stereotypical. Although there is a good contrast between the two of them, though.
Yes.
How like one of them is like kind of neurotic, control everything, and then the other one's like la 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 la, and then he beats up the guy for being mean to his boyfriend. I've only seen this the first season, but yeah, and it's like, or Will and Grace, which I haven't seen in a really long time, but I remember watching that and just being like, oh my god, there's gay characters. But I watch it now and it's just like, God, that was like their whole thing, is that they were gay. Like, that was it.
Well,
the whole show was like, oh, it's a straight woman and a gay guy living together.
Right. Well, fun fact, Will and Grace is actually also the first time that Puppy Play was ever like aired, and it was like in the late 90s. I only know this because like Pup Locrian, so like, you know, I know all that fun facts. But Will and Grace was
that basically role playing when is that a loaded question?
Well, yes and no. Like, at the end of the day, yes, it's role, like you're playing a role, but like there's also headspaces involved. So like when I'm engaging in that particular type of play, like I actually like really feel
method acting.
Yeah, almost, yeah. But like, you know, when I get into that headspace, it's like almost like a trance-like state. Different than being actually in a trance, because that's a separate thing. But like, it actually,
you get really into the role,
right?
Basically,
exactly.
I think that's okay. So like, I haven't really done a lot of LARPing, and I know that like LARPing has a bad rep, which sucks because I mean, that's awesome to have an opportunity to be someone totally different than what you are, which kind of makes me think of the video game thing where you have all these guys that are like, of course I pick, you know, make a character that looks exactly like me. I want to be a super version of myself. Meanwhile, I'm like, I guess because I'm so used to not being able to be myself in games that I pick like the most different character I can. Like, so it sucks that role playing, you know, has such a bad rep, and I don't know. We're working on it. I think in leftist spaces, the attitude is changing, but unfortunately, the majority of people are still going to be very like, and they're anti-sex, so of course they're anti-kink, you know?
Well, and that's the thing is like, you know, talking about puppy play is like, I can really only scratch the surface of like, oh yeah, I'll like run around and do tricks and stuff. And that's enough for most people to be like, oh, you know, but I can't go into everything that I do. Cause like the fact is some of it is, a little 18 plus, you know, some of it does get a little, but, and people just like, people can't handle that. They're like, so it's like having, like, it's like doing like the, and like, don't worry about it, you know, because like at some point people are already like, people are freaked out by the idea of like baseline sex, like that people can't handle that. And try to throw in that you're like role playing and wearing a puppy hood, and they're just like, well, I can't handle it.
And see, the frustrating thing about stuff like that is the way that you normalize that and you inform people is you talk about it. But on mainstream platforms, because people are automatically like, oh, it's sexual, like you can't even talk about what goes into it without having to be on a porn site to talk about it. And, you know, it's a little different in that because you are talking about like the adult aspects of it, but like you can't educate people, you can't, you know, and then you have some really bad thing like the 50 Shades go viral and it puts out all this harmful, you know, this is not how you do BDSM, this is not consensual BDSM, but because or Fet Life, but you can't talk about it on a mainstream platform, and a lot of people are not going to go to a sex site to be educated. Like if they go to a sex site at all. Can we talk about food? No, it's really a sexual thing. I'm just, usually when I get comments, like occasionally I'll get a support, like TikTok, I don't know. Every time I go live on TikTok, it's like maybe one or two decent people, and then everyone else is just like trying to get me to, you know, dance monkey dance. Anyway, sorry, I was distracted.
No, but like, I mean, it is frustrating. Like, I have to definitely watch the kind of content I put on here, and I do a lot of like, I talk a lot about like diversity within spaces here, and I think that's an important cause, and like that's kind of like one of the things I'm known.
Hold on, I'm gonna block this guy. He's being gross. I love a meaty taco. Blook. I'm always saying like if I actually wanted to be successful as a content creator, I need to not have such a hair trigger for blocking perverts, but it's so hard. I want to block them.
I don't really tolerate it either. I'm like, if someone comes into my comment section and is like weird, like I do allow a certain amount of discourse in my comment section, because some people come in and they have ideas and like they share them, and I like want to get to the bottom of where they got their ideas with them. But as soon as they get like mean about it, then I'm like, and we're done.
And like, especially with the kind of comments that I deal with, there's a lot of, I hesitate to call it this because I don't want people to think that I'm saying it's on the same level, but it's a little bit of digital rape where it's like, I can't stop them from saying sexual shit to me and like sending DMs of their, you know, dick pics to me or whatever, which I'll get to that in a minute, but I can't stop them, and they know I can't stop them. So they're doing it as a like, haha, forced you to endure me saying stuff like this. And, you know, again, I'm probably going to get this TikTok banned because I'm just saying rape, but fuck it. You know, rape is not about sexual pleasure. It's about control. It's about domination. It's about exerting force on someone else. And it's the same kind of vein as people, as men, to be honest, men, leaving sexual harassment comments on me, and, you know, on a post where I'm like, hey, it's actually really demeaning to me when I'm here trying to advocate for, I don't know, drug addiction resources or houselessness solutions or whatever, but you're leaving comments like, oh, I love your boobs. Your boobs are so, I want to suck your boobs. It's like, Well, the new bill is about children being animals in class and being taken to animal control. I know, it's insane. And the one legalizing first cousins having sex.
Yeah, I saw that one, and it was like, oh, we will authorize the school to call animal control if they're going to act like furries. And I'm just like...
Not even a fucking thing! That's like libs of TikTok making up shit. It's crazy to me.
And here's the thing. Some senator heard the term furry one time, and they're like, this is a massive problem, and we need to deal with it. Yeah. And I don't know. But no, like, along the lines of those kinds of comments, I mean, as a person of color especially, I get that too. I just, like, a couple of days ago, and I addressed this, like, with a video, I got a DM from someone that was just, like, all slurs. And it's, like, how they started it. And they, like, I was like, did you really think this would work? And then, like, well, you should be into this kind of thing, you know, and they kept going. And I'm just like, it's entitlement. I think a part of it is entitlement.
Yeah.
Is these and as a man, these people, mostly men, have their fantasies and they're so important to them. Like their fantasies are so important to them that they think it overrides anyone else's like consent, autonomy, and they're just like, I'm going to do this because this is what I want, and I don't even care about anything else. And I'm just
it's exactly the same. Like I will literally hear basically that word, that phrasing from men leaving gross comments on my thing, and like society does raise men to believe this, that like the nicest thing you can do to a woman is say you approve of her fuckability and be like, yes, I find you sexually attractive. And even if she's like, I don't want to hear that, like, cool, dude, but like, I don't want to hear that. They're like, no, I meant it as a compliment. Like, they just do not even listen when you're like, it's not a compliment. It's not a compliment to just be ignoring what I'm saying and focus on my appearance, especially if, you know, if I'm topless, but I keep saying that it's not because I want comments about it. Like, men are just like, no, that couldn't possibly be true. There's no way you could be topless without wanting us to be gross about it.
Right. Well, and then they frame it as, oh, but you're being like, why else would you do this if you didn't want attention? And it's just like, maybe because I want to, because I'm right.
Because I'm trying to change minds. I'm trying to make people think about topless inequality, because certainly no one on mainstream media is like, hey, maybe we should not be assigning different levels of censorship based on your gender or your perceived gender. Nobody else is talking about it. And I do it topless, one, because again, I'm trying to normalize the sight of female nipples outside of sexual situations. And two, because people are more likely to click on it. And the hope is that they'll click on it and then they'll accidentally learn something. They'll accidentally, they'll come to an interview where I'm like, with a disabled sex worker, and they'll accidentally learn the realities of the dangers of how there's no protection because you can't call the cops because the cops will arrest you. So the levels of sexual abuse against sex workers like sky high, because they're not seeking that stuff out. They're not looking up stuff like that. So my goal, more like method. My method of trying to raise awareness is, get people looking for porn. And it's only going to be like 1 in a million. But, I do have people that post to my Discord and stuff regularly now that say, I admit that I was looking for porn, but I saw your videos and I started watching them, and, you made me think about a lot of stuff that I never thought about. And to me, that's like the best comment ever, to hear that I like made them think about stuff.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. And like, there's so many important topics that just need to be covered. And like, if that's what it takes to get people to listen, and I do it too. Sometimes I do like,
I don't think there's shame in it. I really don't think there's shame in it.
But like sometimes I'll go all dressed in leather and I'll be like holding a cigar and like it appeals to a certain audience, and then I remember my favorite thing was I did that kind of video and I was like, now go vote. It's like, oh, you want to be good? Go vote. And I got like,
you liberal commie, you said the V word.
Right. And I got like 20 comments from people and they were like, I voted. Oh, there was one time I was famous. I was just like, I'll drop a noodle if you vote. If you send me proof you voted, you get one for free.
That's awesome.
I have like 10 DMs from people. Here's my vote card. I'm like, sweet.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Well, it's like the perks for getting vaccinated that used to be a thing where it was like get a free donut or whatever. Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, I actually just joined Blue Sky after like not doing it for a really long time, just because I'm trying to find platforms that people actually use so that I can try to funnel them to my main accounts, to where I, because Mastodon is my main thing. I quit Twitter in November 2022, and so now I mostly just use Mastodon and Discord and stuff. But I was looking at the free the nipple, they don't even use hashtags. Like, it's only the words, which is the opposite of Mastodon. You have to literally type hashtag and then the exact word for anything to show up. So anyway, I was looking at free the nipple, and there was a post from a guy, and it was like a middle-aged, larger white man posting a topless picture, and all he wrote was free the nipple. And the comments were like, yum, daddy. And it was like, it both pissed me off, but at the same time almost gave me a little bit of hope, because it was like, oh, look, someone else is getting sexually objectified for once. Oh, but the thing that I was going to say earlier about men, how men react to getting sexual harassment comments or whatever, it is different because men simply are not sexualized from childhood. They're not getting sexual comments made at them when they're 10 years old like girls are. And so for men, you know, unless they're like a fucking Adonis, getting, you know, like, oh, you're so hot or whatever is like a rare treat for them. They're not used to the life experience of having their whole being reduced to whether they're fuckable or not.
Yeah. I mean, the intersections are crazy, you know, being someone who is queer and tends to go for men, and also being a person of color, like the amount of just like no.
Yeah. Well, that's why, I mean, I'm really glad that our paths crossed, because, you know, you have a variety of perspectives that you can talk about that I don't have the experience with, but, you know, like that's the thing too, is like I haven't really been able to encourage anyone to do an interview with me yet who wasn't either a nudist man, cis man, or a sex worker. And I'm happy with that, because like I think it's important to talk about, you know, decriminalizing sex work, talking about, you know, again, how sex work is illegal and is shamed, while dying of black lung in a coal mine is treated as like a hard, you know, American, like hard worker. And it's just like, or, you know, having to piss in a bottle at an Amazon warehouse, or suffering in a delivery van with no AC and 100-degree weather or whatever, like that kind of suffering under capitalism.
Cycle the Dragon is 2-player.
No, it's not. Sorry, kids. They, you know, like it just doesn't make any sense to me. Who set those standards? And of course, the thing with sex work, is it is one of the few markets or few industries or whatever you want to call it, where women and other marginalized people tend to have more power over calling the shots, over setting their own prices and deciding what they are comfortable doing. And patriarchy and capitalism and racists don't like that. They don't like marginalized people having the power to
right. I mean, like, I'm friends with, and obviously I'm friends with a ton of sex workers, and a lot of them do like femdom stuff. That's kind of like where I tend to intersect with people. The average they charge is about $300 to $350 an hour.
Wait. You said femdom? How do you define that?
It's generally so there's femdom, the like community, and then but like I would categorize them as people who engage in like BDSM in a professional sense, who are women who take the dominant role. So
okay, so dominatrix.
Yeah, basically. Pretty much. Yeah, same.
But it's a less algorithm triggering word, basically.
Yeah. Also, like, dominatrix invokes like a specific like vision, and I know like a lot of people. I know people who like do the whole like latex catsuit and bullwhip kind of thing. But I also know people who love to wear pink and do very like soft, more like sensual things. But I mean,
well, it's like the boss lady, you know, fetish category where she's all dressed in pink and she's calling the shots and stuff. That's not necessarily a dominatrix, but it's still a power woman. I don't know.
But like I know like on average they charge anywhere from like $300 to $350 an hour, and I know so many men who just like hate that. They're just like,
oh yeah, like, or the way female streamers are treated on Twitch, where it's like my issue with the titty streamers on Twitch is just that they can have the camera to here and be acting like, oh, you know, tip me and I'll stand up a little bit more, but I can't sit there not doing anything sexual. But if my nipples are visible, I'm the one getting banned as sexual explicit. So it's not so much, I don't hate the titty streamers, I hate the hypocrisy on Twitch's part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know, men get really mad because they think it's so easy. They're like, all you have to do is be female on stream and you'll make $1 million. I can attest that is not true.
Not true at all. But yeah, no, I've learned a lot of men hate any time a woman like gets to dictate the terms and conditions of any interaction, and they're like, this is dumb. Who would even pay for that bunch of? And that's where you started hearing like the whole simp language and like, oh, you're a beta male, like listen,
Beta male, yeah.
right? And like I've seen it, I'm like,
Oh my God.
why? Because they like respected someone's boundaries. Wow, what a beta
Because
thing.
they dared to actually like pay someone's wages. Well, so I have some artistic nude photos for sale on Gumroad, and they're supposed to be art. Like, you know, you were talking about like classical art. They're supposed to be art. And it is literally the only piece of content I have that's paywalled. And it's because I'm banned from monetization when I'm not banned outright, and sponsors won't return my emails. I have no other way of making money. And I have a Patreon, but like I don't have time to be like making all these special perks. So it's literally just like, if you want to pay to help me make better videos, and people don't do that. People want more for their money. And some guy was like going on, it was an anonymous Tumblr ask, which I've been trying to use Tumblr again since they allegedly got rid of the porn ban, but they still shadow ban so badly that it's not really worth it. But anyway, I had an anonymous anonymous ask, sorry, my allergies, where they were like, why must we pay to see your photos? And it's like, first of all, no one's holding a gun to your head. If you don't want them, you don't have to see them. Second of all, they're supposed to be art, and yeah, pay artists. Like, God forbid you pay artists. And yeah, photography's work, you know? Like, I had a costume. I was like doing all this like photo editing and stuff like that. But because they assume like if they did a naked photo, if he did a naked photo, people wouldn't pay for it. And I don't make that much money at it. Like, I literally make maybe $30 a month off selling nudes, as they call them, nudes. Like, that fucking pisses me off too. Just like nudes, because it's like, as we all know, any kind of nudity is all the same. You know, whether you're got your crotch facing the camera as you're sticking something in it versus just, you know, holding a vase or whatever. Like, they're obviously exactly the same.
Right. Clearly, not a difference at all.
I am reading your comments and I do appreciate them. I'm just not saying anything because I'm trying not to interrupt Pup too much. But I appreciate the good comments.
But no, there's a lot of weight hate within sex work as well, because I know a ton of plus size sex workers, and they're all great people, but the comments they get are like truly horrific, and it's just like, wow.
What? Okay, I will handle it in a little bit. Okay, I will take care of it in a little bit. Thank you. My 5-year-old letting me know that my 7-year-old said fuck, apparently.
Oh,
I will handle it later. Sorry, you were saying you know a lot of plus size. Okay, so is it better to say fat or plus size? Because I still keep hearing different opinions, so I don't know what the majority opinion is.
I'm fine calling myself fat, but I know that not everyone has the same relationship with that word. Yeah. So if I don't know if someone's comfortable with that term, I use plus size. But if I know someone's comfortable, like, yeah, I'm like fat and queer, I'm like, I'll refer to the person as such. But you know, again, I just know not everyone has the same like relationship with that word. So I try to. It depends, you know. I'll call myself like I describe myself as a fat black queer puppy, you know, but I wouldn't use the same term.
That like instantly summons like this mental image of just this like, you know, black puppy that's like chubby and just like, I want to play.
That's very much me. That is very much me.
I want to draw fan art now. Well, it's interesting because I was reading responses on this Instagram post where it was asking about switching out LGBTQ plus blah 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 with queer, and like, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And some of the responses were like, I will never say queer. Queer is a slur. Blah blah blah. I'm of the position, and I guess I'm saying this with super meta irony, canceled. But I think that adding letter after letter after letter, first of all, it's categorizing people. It's saying you must be this or this or this. And, you know, if someone doesn't have a letter in there, like, are you saying they're not part of that community? And also, just from an SEO perspective, like, if you keep changing it, people can't find the resources. People don't know what word to put in and be like, you know, am I gay? You're going to find, am I gay is easier to remember them. Am I LGBTQIA, blah, 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 blah. And so I'm very big on calling it queer and relating it to, you know, fat versus plus size. I can definitely see the attitude of why give power to the bigots to make a word, you know, sacrosanct. But again, it's complicated. Bitch, same way. Like, I'm not really so much I used to be like, more like, yeah, I'm a bitch, but now I'm sort of like, I don't like the playing into the narrative that like if a woman is assertive, she's a bitch, but if a man is assertive, he's like powerful. But, you know, but I would never presume to call someone else bitch. Like, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Like, some people definitely do want to take the word back, and like, I'm of the opinion that just like I talk about it so much, like I just do so much content around it that if every time I had to say LGBTQIA plus, oh, that would take a lot of time. I'm like, you know, obviously I have said it before and I can say it pretty quickly, and I'm respectful of the fact that not everyone wants to use the word queer, but when you make videos for a living, it does make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, people will like share clips of someone, you know, not like they'll be like LTBG or whatever, and they're like, ha, and I'm like, dude, saying that over and over is hard. It's a tongue twister.
I've messed it up, and fortunately, I have the benefit of the delete button and the edit button, so I can just do it again.
I don't have the time for that. I'm just like, okay, well, one take, let's go.
Exactly. But like, you know, and again, like, I know not everyone's gonna like the word, and that's fine. But I think at this point in time, like, a majority of people, or at the very least, like, understand where people are coming from, which I think is good.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying something about knowing plus size models or sex workers. Did you have I totally cut you off, so I feel bad.
Oh, I was talking about like I know a lot of plus size sex workers, and the comments they get on their like promotions and content are just so different and bad. It's just like it's crazy. It's crazy. Because like there is a typical like, oh, sex work bad comments, but then there's the also, ooh, why would, you know, like, why would someone want to hire a whale like you, or why would you, you know, like, ew, why are you showing? And it's just like, people can find any excuse to be as disrespectful as they can. Like, they will really find anything.
I don't like this, so therefore anyone who likes it is a pervert or a loser, blah, blah, blah. I literally, 2 days ago, like I said, I'm a big fan of video essays, and so I was watching one that was an interview with a very plus-size woman who was talking about like how she had been abused as a kid and everything like that, and she ended up being I guess like cam girl, I can't think of the word right now, but she would get encouraged to eat more and more and more and more and more by the fetishists, and her health was plummeting because the reality is if you're 600 pounds, you know, your heart is having a hard time. You can't really, your joints are screaming. But she was stuck in this cycle of like, people are praising me and giving me money to keep eating. Or like the guy, I haven't actually seen any of his videos. I've only seen videos about him, but
Nikocado Avocado.
Yeah, that guy. And like how his health, I don't know how he is now, but I guess like his health got really, really, really bad because his whole thing was like eating food on camera. And it's like, where is the point where something goes from normalizing something to fetishizing it? And if you're fetishizing it, like, so I did an interview a while ago with this woman, Stormy, and she is a disabled sex worker. And we talked about a lot of good stuff, like she has been houseless for a long time, and so she's talking about experiences with that or whatever. And she was saying that like she used to kind of lean into the disability aspect, you know, be on her wheelchair and stuff on camera because it was a market, it was a fetish market. But her feelings changed and she stopped doing it because she felt like she was worsening the fetishization, the non-consensual fetishization of disabled people, where like there could just be a woman at the beach, you know, a disabled woman on the beach with a bikini on, and people were taking her picture and posting it to porn sites. And
Yeah.
so she didn't want to be like feeding into that. So now like she kind of tries to, she doesn't hide it, but she doesn't like advertise it. And I
Right.
thought that that was really interesting. And it's sort of like almost the opposite thing with wanting topless equality, because female nipples are so fetishized. Like people can't wrap their head around a woman wanting to be topless just like a man, not in a wanting to be sexualized way.
Right.
Yeah, I talk about that a lot. It's kind of my whole thing.
And honestly, it's something that needs to be talked about. I mean, along the same lines, like, I talk about like the fetishization of people of color a lot, because especially in
the big black,
right, exactly. And so that was some of my first experiences within like alternative lifestyles. I used to go to swingers events sometimes, and I don't anymore. My opinion of the swingers community is not the highest. Let's just say that. And a big part of it is because I kept getting approached in such a disrespectful and fetishizing manner that it just like it became too much.
I get comments that are like, have you ever been with a black guy before? It's like, why do you care?
And especially as somewhat of a, shall we say, sheltered high school. I wasn't exactly popular in high school. Coming out of that was, at first the attention was really cool. And so I can understand on a level how some people lean into that, because getting this attention, suddenly I was like, I would show up to a party and people would talk to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. But like, as it kept happening, I realized people kept seeing me not as an entire person, but, black guy, and
like you were wearing a costume of a black guy.
Exactly. And like people, like when they say, oh, you're a black guy, they don't mean, oh, you are a human being who is black. They mean you have a certain set of stereotypes that are attractive to us. And
or Asian or twink or like any of these fetishization categories. Yeah. I'm mad on your behalf. I'm like, because like, again, Emrich, who I mentioned earlier, he is like the biggest sweetheart ever. And like, yeah, he's large. He's a large black man, but like, he's not violent. We play violent video games, but he's not like he's never going to go out and punch someone. He's not like that. He's a teddy bear. And yet, he could be walking down the street at night and have a cop assume he's going to shoot him. And not that you have to be a big black guy. You can just be black and be assumed to be violent. But it's just, it breaks my heart that people are so inclined to believe stereotypes and judge someone based on a stereotype. At the same time, in my head, I'm thinking of men and how it sucks for men that women might be nervous around you, but at the same time, like, especially if you are a victim of sexual assault, it's the whole, like, got bit by a dog thing. Like, it doesn't matter if 99% of the dogs in the world are sweet. If you were mauled by a dog, then you're going to be afraid of dogs. And it's the same thing with, like, men. And with racism, obviously that is not okay. You should never assume that, and especially like the statistics don't make sense, because it's not like black people are more inclined to be violent. It's that cops are specifically looking for people to arrest.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just, it's frustrating that we can't really talk about this stuff on mainstream platforms very much without being very coded about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And we don't get to normalize it, because the couple of times, like we were talking about earlier, the token black person or whatever, like Urkel, as annoying as he was, I feel like Urkel was kind of extremely ahead of his time as far as characters go, because he was a nerdy black guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't, or Carlton, like, what, dogs barking, like, what the fuck is it called? Fresh Prince. It's funny, the new one, I saw like 2 episodes and then I forgot about it. But like Fresh Prince was such a good example of all these different types of black people. And it was, the Will was almost like the straight guy, like the most stereotypical black guy. But then it was like, actually, black people are people too. And they come in all shapes and sizes and personalities. And I don't know, it kind of feels like we're going backward.
Yeah.
Or like Insecure is another really good show, but it is definitely focused on like a black audience, and so like there's a lot of jokes and reference and stuff that I understand, but to me it doesn't make me go, ah, yeah, like, you know, I just kind of get it. But sorry, I don't know where I was going with that.
No, and I agree, like, Steve Urkel being, like, the nerdy, not sporty black kid was huge. Because, I mean, speaking as a black person, the black community has historically, and still unfortunately to a certain degree today, looked down on anything other than what I like to call the path, which is be good at sports, get a scholarship, and go out, or start doing music, or some other thing. And it's all like those very stereotypical things, you know. And unfortunately, like, those stereotypes have not only ingrained themselves in the minds of white people, but also black people. And that's also kind of why I liked Carlton, was because he portrayed the black person who had some, like, really white thinking, you know. I remember
a lot of black people are like, why are you trying to be white? Like,
right.
The attitude I hear.
Which, like, I remember the one where they got pulled over and Carlton's like, no, they didn't pull us over because they're black. They had a legitimate reason. Of course they did. You know, and Will, who's, like, been through it, he's like, no, they pulled us over because we were black.
Yeah.
But yeah, it also does, like, a lot to within the black community to be like, hey, you can be nerdy and a black person. You can like anime. You can like something other. You can be academic.
What is it? Angry Black Nerd, I think is his name, or something like that. I don't know if he's still around, but I interacted with him a few times, and his whole thing is that he was, like, really into anime and everything like that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he was a creator. He wasn't mainstream, so.
Well, I mean, the same thing extends to kink. I mean, if you talk to the mainstream black community about kink, they dislike it. They really do. Because for them, it's like, why would you do that? Like, this is obviously, like, abuse, and, like, it's undoing all of the progress.
Basically like a hyper intense version of what the general opinion, you know, the white opinion is, but even more intense, because it's like, why are you, I bet a lot of them are like, why are you leaning into that stereotype or something? Like, why are you,
it's like, oh, why would you let a white person do that to you? You know, especially people who are, like, either switches or S-types, you know, it's submissives. There's a lot of, like, oh, why would you let a white man do this to you, or why would you let a white person do this to you? Like, do you have no self-respect, you know? And it's like,
yeah, I notice a lot of shame anytime, like, a celebrity or something, if it's a black guy with a white woman, like, he gets a lot of shit for it. Same thing with a black woman with a white guy, but it's played a little bit different that way, but it's still like, you know, you're betraying your race by dating a white person, like, which I don't know, like, I'm obviously not on the other side of that, so I can't comment on it too much, but it feels like it's disempowering to tell someone you can't do this or that because of your race or your whatever. Like, you're taking power away from that person, saying, no, you're only allowed to do this, otherwise you're doing a bad job being insert demographic here.
I look at it kind of like a pendulum, and we went this, you know, obviously there's a time where, like, we were very oppressed, and I'm not saying that's gone, but, like, you know, we went through slavery and Jim Crow, and we're at a point now where it's better, not good, but better. But now, like, the black community especially is like, the black community is for the black community and no one else, and, like, I grew up in a really unique situation. I was adopted, and I grew up in a majority white town. So, like, a lot of those things of, like, don't date those white girls, never, like, it wasn't a thing for me because I grew up in a majority white town. I was one of, like, maybe 5 black kids at my school. So when we talked about dating, there were no black women to date, you know? And so, like, I never grew up hearing that until I got to college and I had a white girlfriend, and people were like, some people were like, why you got a white girlfriend? And I'm like, I don't know. We liked each other. We started going out. It was, you know,
we saw each other as people. Like,
I don't know. Was there a problem with that? I think that highlights another issue is, like, there's definitely, like, a degree of, like, absolutely uplift black communities, you know, and, like, address the issues and, like, make our communities better. But I don't think the answer is only date black people, don't date white people, and, like, exclude everyone. You know, I don't think that's helpful.
It's such a complicated issue because it's like I totally understand the exhaustion of Black people being like, it's not my job to educate you. And so I get it, and I can understand like it's a lot. It's not that I'm saying it's the same, but it's a little bit similar to how for a little while I was, kind of leading into the nudist thing just because then I didn't have to focus so much of my energy on explaining the difference between nudity and sex. But I didn't like being pigeonholed into that. And as far as, racial stuff goes, like you're not going to improve as long as you're maintaining the othering of each other, you're not going to improve relations. You're not going to normalize, if you're making it a very secular thing where people who aren't already part of that culture can't learn more about it, can't have Black friends or whatever without it being like excluded. Not that I'm saying you should have to for the sake of white people. I don't know. I'm trying not to sound like I'm saying something I'm not trying to say, but
no, and I think you hit the nail right on the head, and because it is such a complex issue, and you have to be so careful about it, because then on the flip side, if you go too far, you get to the whole I don't see color thing, and that's not good because it's like you don't want to erase someone's culture. Like obviously like there's Black culture that's important and it should be celebrated and preserved, but I don't think that's at the expense of pigeonholing Black people into a certain lifestyle,
Like I think there's a difference between appreciating someone's culture and tokenizing them.
Yeah.
And it's like, for instance, like cooking Black food, like a white person doing a recipe that's like a traditional Black recipe, and you'll have a lot of comments that are like they're appropriating their culture. Like it's like maybe they're appreciating it, maybe they're like, this is really good food, and like I don't know.
Well, and I think the best example of that is like with Asian food, because I think that's one of the most like common, like it's kind of a worldwide thing, and I've seen people who like really appreciate it and they talk about the history of the food and they respect it, they respect the food. And then I see other people who just really don't. I remember there was this there's the one woman who made flautas, and she's like, oh, these are fried Mexican tortillas, and I was like, oh, that's not appropriate,
I don't even know what a flauta is.
It's hard to explain. I would need to look it up. I don't even know if it was flauta. Okay. No, it was tostadas. See, that's not...
So is it because she said that it's Mexican that you think it was bad? Or
no, it was her response actually, because a lot of people were like responding to that video and they're like, oh, so that's actually this thing. It's already, because she's like, oh, I invented a new thing, and people are like, actually, that's been around for a while.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because at the time she didn't know that it was a thing, but then people corrected her, and she's like, well, I can call it what I want, and I say so it, and it's just like,
that's really weird.
Yeah, and I'm like, people were being nice about it, like, oh, hey, that's actually a tostada that's been around for.
People have too much ego. Like it's so frustrating. I was literally when I interact with men on, maybe don't treat women like pieces of meat or whatever, like it is extremely rare that they don't get all defensive and stuff. And, I see the same thing with a lot of white people. I see the same thing with whatever the demographic is. And it doesn't seem to matter how nicely you counteract what they're saying, they get defensive and they're like, no, you're wrong. And there are a lot of really hostile, leftists out there. And since I quit Twitter, it's one of those things you don't really realize how abusive it is until you get out of the situation. You're not going to change someone's mind by screaming at them. And you're also scaring away people who might actually be, they might just be ignorant. Sorry, my computer keeps going to sleep. They might just be ignorant, and there is a possibility of teaching them to be better. But if you're making it like a landmine, but again, I understand the frustration of feeling like people are not listening to you. And it's like, I get really hostile, for sure. I get really hostile to guys saying gross stuff to me. And I'm trying to be better about it. But it's like, even if I post a screenshot of an interaction and I blur out their name or whatever, like I try to make it a generalized conversation, if they see that post, they will out themselves and they will scream at me. Yeah. And it's like, how do you have a conversation about something that you see as a problem and try to like help people recognize it as a problem and maybe suggest some changes or like things they shouldn't say or do to not harm, especially again when men think that they're complimenting a woman by saying she's fuckable. And if their actual intent is to compliment and is not to assert their judgment on her, you would think that they would want to be like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that, I was actually trying to make you feel better. I didn't realize that I was making you feel worse. But it almost never happens. Almost absolutely never happens.
Well, yeah. Also, thank you, Twin. I appreciate the differentiation. I along the thing with leftists, I consistently get this.
And the white saviors, can't forget those.
Yes, and so that's what I was going to talk about. Is like white people will like try to speak over me on issues, and then I'll be like, actually, that was wrong. And I just had it happen recently where I was ranting about getting called a slur from a like standpoint of someone's sexual gratification, right? And someone comes into my comments and is like, well, this is how we need to deal with this problem. Like, this is a huge issue. We need to deal with it. And they got it entirely wrong. And so I made a video and I'm like, actually, no, that's not how we need to deal with it. I actually talk about this and teach about this. This is how we need to be dealing with it. And initially they were like, oh, thank you for the insight. But then like a couple days later, they made a video and they were like, oh, just because you like hold some qualification doesn't mean you know what you're talking about. And like, sometimes people can be right without being entirely right. And I like went to call them out and I'm like, dude, like, come on. And that's
when people tag me in a video, if it's someone I'm not a mutual follower with, I just don't watch it. I'm like, I don't want to get screamed at.
Oh yeah.
And I just don't. I'm a coward. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch that. I hate confrontation.
Right. But then, like, both.
So you're brave for watching that video,
right? They jump on me and they're like, and the guy who said it, he was like, oh no, that's not what I meant. I meant you were right. This was like about something else entirely. I'm like, you're literally describing the situation that we were talking about. But then their partner comes in and they're like, are you the type of person who just like always gets offended? And I'm like, oh. Don't say that. It's like, that's a very... Right, and I'm like, that's a very common conservative talking point. Why would you go to the offended, like, minority kind of thing? No, I'm not offended, but I am saying that if you're gonna give information, maybe listen to the people who, like, that information directly affects.
Yeah. Now, I will say, as a bluntly honest autistic person, there are definitely situations where I will like comment on someone's post, and especially on Instagram, and especially if they're a large creator, where I'll actually be like agreeing with them, but the way I phrased it, without me realizing, like, people interpret it differently than I expected. And I will like log in and have like 20 notifications calling me a piece of shit. And it's just like, whoa, like, what's worse is when the creator sees my comments and then sees these other comments and thinks that those comments are correctly interpreting it. And then it's like, great, if I ever run into this person at VidCon, they're going to think I'm like a racist or something because, my comment was misinterpreted. But if you try to say like, that's not how I meant it, a lot of people, especially like the most aggressive leftists, will be like, oh, you're just trying to backpedal. Like, there's never any consideration. There's no possibility that someone could ever have just badly phrased something. And they're, like, trying to own, I'm not saying, like, I'm sorry that you took it that way. It's like, I'm sorry it came across that way. That was not what I was trying to do. And people are like, oh, you're just trying to backpedal. And so it's just like... That's the kind of example of someone who's trying to be a good ally, but you're so hostile that it makes me want to just not engage at all. And I'm saying that also from my, I need to be more patient with men to a degree.
Well, and I think that's where like I like to call people in oftentimes. And like, if I've gotten this before, is someone's comment something and I'll like reach out to them and be like, hey, so you commented this. What were we meaning by that? Can we explain?
You're not using them as an opportunity to quote tweet and dogpile them for internet points?
Right, no. But like,
Twitter,
because sometimes, you know, I've had situations where people comment something and I'm like, hey, what did you mean by that? And they're like, oh, I meant this. And I'm like, oh, okay, it came across completely differently, but okay, we're all good.
Yeah, we all let our negative interactions with people cause us to automatically assume that something is like the worst possible interpretation. And I mean, a lot of times it is, but it really sucks also when you are one of the people that's not what you meant, but because of past examples, that's how you're interpreted.
Well, because it's like obviously, like I've dealt with like legitimate racists before, and you know,
I'm not saying that the majority of people who say something that sounds racist aren't racist. I'm just saying not always, and it's really stressful when I'm trying to be a good ally and something comes out wrong, and all of a sudden I have all these strangers telling me I'm a piece of shit. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Right, and that's where I think like we as creators like can do our due diligence, you know, like especially for me where it's like I understand that a lot of what I talk about has like a ton of nuance to it. You know, like when I talk about like
there's no such thing as nuance on the internet.
Right. Exactly. But like, you know, if I'm talking about like fetishization within like the kink community and how that affects people of color, like there is a ton of nuance because I remember someone I'm working with a group and they just like they banned race play at their parties, right? Fairly it's kind of where things are going. But some people are like, I'm in a relationship with a black person. Does that mean I can't play there anymore? And it's like, no, there's a lot more nuance than like just anything involving black people. Like that's not what we mean, you know. But
at the same time, like they're so scared of accidentally crossing the line that it's
exactly. and so it's funny when you take step like there just needs to be so much conversation, which is why I personally kind of detest this app specifically because it's like, oh, make a 1-minute video about something and it's just like, okay, that's not gonna cover any amount of what we need to cover.
It's like fucking Twitter character limits.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you supposed to make a complete point in 300 characters? And Blue Sky's the same thing. Blue Sky's 300 characters. And I'm just like, after being on Mastodon, and like it depends on the instance you're on, but the one that I'm on has a 5,000 character limit. I can, in general, complete a thought in one post. In Twitter, in Blue Sky or whatever, which today I was saying, I think the reason that they force short character limits is for optimization of engagement so they can sell more ad space, because the more posts, the more chance to show ads. Like, it is the quote tweeting. Like, you can't really do that on Mastodon without like adding extra programs. It was so fucking destructive because you would take someone's post out of like 30 tweets in a thread and be like, because of this one post, this person is saying this. Even if all 29 tweets refute that assumption of what they're saying, people are not going to go read the other tweet. They're going to go, well, this famous activist that I follow said that this person is a piece of shit, so they're, you know.
And that's why I only use Twitter to post my naughty pictures because you can't take those out of context, really.
Yeah. Well, see, and I'm in a rough position where when I was on Twitter, I would ban what I call porn bots, which are basically accounts that just post porn, or write sexual things at people. And I would ban them because I would just be like, you know, topless talking about, again, like mental health or whatever, you know, and they would retweet me alongside hardcore porn because to them, female nipples in any and all circumstance is exactly the same as explicit sexual activity. And so I would block them. And so on Twitter, one, I would still get banned on Twitter. Like, people could just fucking false report shit. I would have all the nudist men completely ignoring my focus on topics equality to try to use me as a figurehead to normalize full body nudity because then they get to benefit. And I would have constant fucking porn bots reducing my entire presence to porn. And so, and then the leftist, and then the super aggressive leftist, which I didn't engage with that much, but I would see it happen to other people. And so I was like constantly in fear of it happening to me.
No, I totally get it.
what is it, the Twitter main character of the day or whatever it was?
Something like that, yeah.
People love to have a dartboard.
They really do.
Right,
Well,
finger.
I actually have to get going. I gotta fill out not fun like work stuff, but
this was super unexpected, but really, I had a really good time. Hopefully I can actually record this and put it up, because I don't know, I've never tried to put up a live before, but thank you for this transformative experience of co-streaming with someone, because literally before you, I would always get it from these like certain kinds of names that I never interacted with before, and I was like, no. Right. So I saw your name, I was like, sure, let's try it. So, cool. Well, I guess we don't need to do an interview now.
Well, if you want to, I'd still be down, because like I have. Like,
there's lots we never talked about. So, yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, we can talk in DMs or whatever. And yeah, I should probably go make sure my kids are alive. They're fine. They're eating dino nuggies and watching TV. But yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Nice talking to you. All right. Go ahead.
Bye.
Bye. So that was exciting. Wow. This has been magical. This is like literally the first time I've done a TikTok live and it hasn't been just a clusterfuck of like, I haven't seen a single person in the comments call me a trans man. Which generally happens, which is funny to me because, I mean, there's some really hot, trans women. There's some really hot trans women out there. I am not. I have the vaginally born children to prove it. But yeah, I didn't get a single comment like that today. And I only banned one person for talking about like a big meaty stick, and I was like, no, we're not gonna deal with that. And I've been reading all your comments, Glenn, and like good points. I agree with a lot of them. Like I said, I just didn't want to like interrupt Pup to talk about it. So that was fun. Yeah, zitter, whatever. Yeah, like Twitter. Oh, hi, Raj. I didn't even realize it was Raj, one of my all-stars that's like on most of my platforms, pretty much all of them. I lost my train of thought. Never mind. Oh, like Twitter was already bad even before Elon took over. Like Twitter was in the same kind of demographic or whatever you want to call it as like YouTube or whatever, where they claim that they don't allow racists and stuff like, Nazis or whatever, but they're still full of it. Like they still both full of Nazis and full of bullshit. They still had all these, people on there and like, oh, they can only do so much with algorithms. I'm like, yeah, I think AI is a little more sophisticated than that. They could detect the stuff if they want to, especially when it's like fucking famous, Alex Jones, who's like back on Twitter since Elon took over or whatever. And, a lot of people of that equal caliber of terribleness took over. And it was because they had finally... It's frustrating that as a topless equality activist, if I look up like banned from YouTube or whatever and try to find someone who's been through a similar thing as me, all I find are right-wingers. All I find are Nazis and anti-vaxxers being like, they banned me for saying this. And it's like, that's a completely different situation. That person should be banned. You should not have impunity to be saying horrible things about someone based on their race or, or gender or whatever. And it just really sucks that like I'm stuck in that kind of company. Now I have seen a slow shift, especially in regards to, again, I'm probably going to get this banned, ironically, but Israel bombing the shit out of Gaza, a little bit of Russia invading Ukraine, but not as much. But now there's starting to be some other leftists who are getting banned for talking about important things. And kind of like I was just saying with Pup, people don't really notice something as a problem until they start to have to deal with it. And so now we're getting some leftists who are like, oh, the censorship on these platforms is actually really fucked up. I mean, there was a brief thing like a few years ago where I think it was YouTube was suppressing queer, LGBT, queer, as we were talking about earlier, content, and they got a lot of blowback for it, and they very quickly were like, "Oh shit, that was an error. We're undoing that." And I think it's better. I'm sure there's probably still some queer content getting banned that shouldn't be getting banned, but you know, that again, people had to personally suffer from something before they started caring about it. They smell delicious. Okay. I think we got another person that wants to get blocked. Anyway, they yeah, so now all of a sudden that they know Zelda stuff. Yeah, I'm a big Zelda fan. This is it fell down, I gotta fix it or whatever. It's a display from Twilight Princess. I was working at GameStop at the time, and you're not really supposed to bring home the material or whatever, but I convinced my boss to let me do it. And so I've had it move with me like 4 times, and unfortunately it's kind of falling apart. But and then that's a bead art shield I made, and unfortunately it kind of warped a little bit. And then this was a calendar from last year or the year before. And so when it ran out, I put it up just like that. And my son is named Link. So yeah. And then this is my background right now. I'm kind of a Zelda fan. I've seen like the Hylian shields and Master Swords at conventions and stuff, and I'm like, I want it, but like, what would I really do with it? When I get rich and famous and I have a mansion, then I'll get all that stuff. It's so funny to me. This is so random. I was gonna stop the stream, but I'm still talking, so yeah. What was I talking about? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, like you see these videos of influencer houses, and they're so boring. They're so boring. I mean, I know with the content houses and stuff, like I think the houses are owned by someone and they're basically just renting them. So there's going to be limits on what they can do. Okay, I don't know what the fuck. Rick is weird. We're going to block him. I don't know what they smell. No, I don't want to turn that on. Anyway, I don't know what "they smell delicious" is supposed to be referring to. I'm assuming it's some demeaning thing. Because usually whenever there's a phrase I don't understand, it's like, oh, that's some coded misogyny or something. Anyway, and someone breaks into your house because of death's going to be a Master Sword. Is it actually sharp though? Because like the blades you get at conventions and stuff are, in general, not particularly sharp. But it sucks that I wasn't able to change the name of the live, because I literally was going to be checking like Onlyfans messages, which I still could, but then unexpectedly, I had Pup, I forgot his name, Pup whatever, join me, and we had a fascinating impromptu conversation about all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely going to hopefully be able to get the file uploaded, because yeah, that was really exciting. That was really fun. I would hire me to be a guest on your show. I can talk for however many hours you want me to. Anyway, shall I do that? Shall I actually check the OnlyFans comments really quick and just see if there's anything worth talking about? It's probably just gonna be like fucking garbage, as usual, but my husband gets home in like an hour, so I'm gonna definitely wrap it up before that, just because he always calls on his way home, and I'm streaming on my phone right now, so. All right, let's go. Let's go to OnlyFans. So when I first joined OnlyFans, I tried the monthly payment one or whatever, but it was so fucking exhausting trying to come up with new content that it just wasn't worth it. So I made a free one, and I don't even really have anything on sale for there because I'm not a sex worker. As I was ranting earlier, unfortunately, as a female presenting topless equality activist, the only places that I can post my heinous female nipples to are porn sites. They're the only ones that allow female nipples in any and all circumstances. And so it's fucking drives me crazy, because my whole mission is to normalize the sight of female nipples outside of sexually explicit situations. And I can't really do that if the only place that I can post... Okay, I'm not... This is your one warning, concrete fatter, okay? I am not a sex worker. This is literally what I was talking about earlier in the stream, but my whole purpose is to normalize the sight of female nipples outside of sexual situations so that maybe someday we can have the same fucking exact goddamn fucking rights as men to go topless online and in public without getting banned as sexually explicit nudity. But I am not a sex worker, and talking about me like a piece of meat removes my personhood. It treats me as if I'm just my body and nothing else matters. I understand that that's a radical concept, and most men have a hard time taking their dick out of their hands long enough to consider that maybe treating women as objects is not the best course of action. But anyway, as I was saying, unfortunately, the only place I can post my female nipples is on sex sites or on alternative platforms like Mastodon and PeerTube, which basically no one uses and don't have any searchability per se. And yeah, so everywhere that I am, I'm unfortunately have to have all these fucking accounts in all these fucking places, and it's a lot of time consuming work and exhaustion and just like 10 times the amount of haters and assholes and perverts to deal with, not to mention on top of all the random bans. Even when I do fully censor everything, I still get banned. Okay. Time to block the pervert. Goodbye, asshole. Anyway, see, this is why I'm so unsuccessful. This pervert wanted my OnlyFans, and I was just like, nope, I'm gonna block you. Like, it's not fucking hard to find people. It's Topless Topics. Everywhere it's Topless Topics. But if you're gonna be saying rude shit to me, I don't care if you pay me. You can't pay me to say rude shit to me. I'm not a masochist. You know, I'm not a what the fuck is the word? I can't think of the word right now, but basically the BDSM, the submissive. I'm not a submissive here to be demeaned by you for money. So go find an actual submissive and go pay them to be shitty to them. Anyway, so let's see. Yeah, so my current OnlyFans is ToplessTopics free, and I basically have nothing to sell on there. One, because OnlyFans takes a fucking 25% cut, which is bullshit. And two, because obviously it's a sex site, so people coming there are looking for sex, and I'm not interested in fulfilling their sexual fantasies. The unfortunate fact is that I am stuck in this fucking nightmare, catch-22, where because female nipples are sexualized and fetishized and only allowed in sexually explicit situations, when I'm trying to explain the concept of just giving women the same fucking right as men to go topless online and in public, men are so trained to be like, female nipple? Sexual! Must ejaculate! You know? And it's just, again, I was saying this earlier when I was talking to Pup, but men who, like this guy that I just blocked, who, I was talking about, like, wanting the same rights as men. He's like, that'll never happen. You're telling on yourself, dude. If you're the one saying, like, oh, if women were allowed to go topless in public and online just like men, then, sexual harassment rates would go sky high or whatever. You're saying that you and your gender cannot physically control yourself, that you're animals, that you're instinct-driven animals, and that's cool. So, not the argument you think it is. Anyway, all right, so let's see. I have 11 messages and 99 plus notifications. I don't really check them very much. Messages. Number one, oh God, it's the fucking guy. There's this guy that keeps following me on social media, and I keep blocking him, but he makes new accounts, and I can always tell it's him because his punctuation is fucking bizarre. He has all these weird, like, he puts like parentheses and spaces and everything like that, just fucking I don't know. And he's kind of an idiot. But anyway, I don't know. He's messaging me and he's like, I paid $20 in the summer of 2021 for a karaoke singing request, which I stopped doing very quickly because I was like, it turns out it's actually a lot of work to to sing the song, to edit the song together, to do the sound and all this other stuff. It takes me like 3 or 4 hours to do just a single karaoke request. Plus I don't do full nude stuff anymore. I did it very briefly because I was like, well, I'm a nudist too, but I got tired of nudists. First of all, I hate doing anything that the perverts want. And second of all, I got really tired of nudists completely ignoring my whole focus on wanting the same rights as men and just jumping to, oh, let's use you to normalize full body nudity so that we can set our penises free. So I don't do that stuff anymore. But yeah, I stopped doing the karaoke thing because it actually takes a lot more work than $20 is worth. I might do it for $100, but people are not going to pay any money. And like anyone who's willing to pay $100 for a topless karaoke video of whatever, they're not doing it because they respect the cause of trying to normalize topless equality. They're doing it for wank material. And I'm sure there's some people out there, 1 in 10 million people, who would actually pay money towards a cause like mine of normalizing topless equality, non-sexual toplessness, so that maybe we can have the same rights as men. Got to keep repeating that for the new people in the stream. But they're very rare. I don't know how to find them, and they're definitely not enough of them to pay for anything. So I'm stuck in this really fucking shitty ass place where I can do as I have been doing and block perverts, block those who become a Patreon donor and then send me sexually explicit, love your tits messages, no matter how many times I say don't say that shit to me. Or I could look the other way and just accept the money from them because they're the only ones paying anything. But I hate that. I keep hoping, stupid, naive me, keep hoping that I will somehow, either the culture will shift or to the point where capitalist organizations decide that it's profitable to support topless equality, like they sort of have with gay rights, gay marriage, like in June, of course, all of a sudden there's rainbow stuff everywhere, like they briefly did for Black Lives Matter. Like there's other various progressive causes that brands were like, oh, we'll make more money if we pretend to support this. I keep naively hoping that either we'll reach a point where that becomes the case, where they decide, oh, it's profitable to support topless equality instead of blatant sexism and misogyny and transphobia. Or, even if I can't convince capitalists to as a whole allow topless equality, maybe I can at least get to the point where through pure numbers, some brands out there, even I will do an ad for a sex toy because I am sex positive. I am pro sex education. I think being like, oh, we can never talk about sex or whatever is stupid. That leads to harm, that leads to myths, that leads to people in abusive relationships because they can't find the resources to know what consent looks like. But I don't have the numbers for someone like Adam and Eve to be like, oh, it would be worth paying you for an ad. So anyway, I'm just bitching. Yeah. So anyway, back to OnlyFans. And then there's a bot trying to sell ads. Block. Do you have any PPVs of sexy content? If not, that's fine. No, I'm not a sex worker. Hi, Cleo. Can you re-upload the video where you're outside burning your manual? I admire your passion, that video or episode. Thanks. I don't know if I even have it anymore. I lost so many of my videos as they got banned. I was not very good at keeping backups of stuff in the early days. If I have it, it's probably pretty low quality on an old computer hard drive. I'd have to engineer some way to access. Hope springs eternal that someday I can get the money together to hire a video editor that will free me up so much to do other tasks like search my computer drives for old videos to re-upload. Honestly, yes, the money, not having any kind of income is part of the frustration. The other part is that it's really fucking hard to find video editors. Like, I don't know where you do, because if you just look up like video editor or whatever, you get like a bunch of, you know, people in Bangladesh who barely speak English and have no portfolio to prove that they actually know what they're doing. And every time I've asked a content creator who they have edit, either they still edit their own videos, or at least they claim to, or it's somebody that they have a talent manager and the talent manager put them in contact with that video editor. And I'm not famous enough to have a talent manager. I'm not famous at all. Hi, beautiful from Sacramento, Cali. Hi, please don't call me beautiful. I don't want comments on my appearance. I am a person. I know that men have been raised in our culture to think that the best compliment you can pay to a woman is to call her fuckable, but I do not like comments on my appearance. So, thanks. Anyway, what was I talking about? I don't know. I don't remember. All right, next message. That man says hello. I'm not going to reply to that. I don't reply to just generic hello, hi, what's up? Like, I'm one person. There's all of you. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to have these extended conversations with people I've never interacted with before, and, you know, and get videos edited and get my kids, you know, lunch or whatever. If you want to get to know me, you got to actually interact with me long term. You actually got to like comment on my posts on Mastodon, Instagram, and stuff like that, and not just like, "Hi, how are you?" but like actually talk about the subject that I'm talking about, or join our Discord and talk to me on there. Although if you are a pervert or an asshole, we will boot you. Then I'll talk to you, because then I'm establishing a friendship with you. But I don't answer hey, hi, hello, how are you shit, because there's too many and it's boring. Happy New Year. Hope you had a nice holiday. Haha, I've noticed that from all all the places I've been banned page. Haha. Yeah, that's why I figured it was best to reach out from here. Been watching you for years now, though. Learn a lot from you, so thanks. Happy New Year. Hope you had a nice holiday. I'm not going to reply, because literally my message to him before was that I don't use OnlyFans to communicate, so he should use some of the method on ToplessTopics.org/contact instead of OnlyFans, but he's still only messaging me on OnlyFans, so I'm going to ignore it, because I told him to not use OnlyFans to talk to me. Hornswoggle. Do you do sexual stuff on your other OnlyFans? I said no. Do you have a Snapchat so people can pay for nudes? I said no. So you don't sell nudes at all. And then it says, please subscribe to resume messaging. So I guess they unsubscribed, so I can't reply. I don't care. So I don't have enough money for a monthly contribution on Joystick or Patreon, but I made like a $9 purchase here. I know it's like nothing, but whatever, a little bit helps. Merry late Christmas, Happy New Year. Wish you good luck in hiring help for making new content. Thanks. I hate selling anything on here because 1, OF takes a massive 25% cut, and 2, I hate the fact that the people finding me on here were already looking for porn, so of course they're going to disrespect my mission for topless equality by treating anything I post as porn. So if you do want to donate in the future, I have a few other methods listed at toplesstopics.org/donate. I understand I'm signed up as a Patreon donor to a few other creators, and it's deceptive how much costs can add up and surprise you. LOL. Just saying kind words, not ruined by a sexual judgment of my appearance. Really help keep me going, though. If you're not a perv or an asshole, please follow me on a platform that isn't OF so we can interact there. My links are at toplesstopics.org/contact. Hopefully they're not a pervy asshole. Especially on fucking reported for what? Talking? Someone's jealous that a woman can exist on the internet. What the fuck? Reported for what? You can't even see it, you know? Man, what a troll. I tried to same time. Anyway. No, my phone fell down. If you're not a pervert or an asshole, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so we'll see. Unfortunately, people that contact me on OnlyFans tend to be jerk-offs, as you'd expect. Not jerk-offs in the sense that that's what they're doing, which probably not true too, but in the sense that they're fucking gross assholes to me, because it's hard enough to get men on a mainstream platform to consider the crazy radical notion that maybe women and all genders should have the same rights to go topless in public and online that men get. But it's even harder when the only place I can post my heinous female nipples is to porn sites. Anyway. All right. Next message from Loss. They're sending me dick pics. Hola, señorita. I have a business proposal for you. I said, I don't do sexual content. They said, are you sure? There's plenty of pictures of your online, even the ones that you're selling exclusively. Open to selling me content that's done in a photo shoot. Do you still sell pictures like these? I'd be honored to buy some content off you. And they showed a pregnancy picture of me, which of course, I said I don't do sexual content. So they're saying that an image of me, a nude image of me is inextricably sexual, because don't you know, all female nipples are nudity, and all nudity is sexual. There's no such thing as non-sexual nudity. Fucking idiots. Anyway, I said what I prepared so far, but just because I'm naked doesn't make it sexual. That's the whole point. That's fine. I still think you're a goddess and respect your work. You have gorgeous nipples, and I find your vaginal lips to be the equivalent of perfect. Thank you for replying back. I'm a fan of your work throughout the years I've seen you online. Would you feel comfortable selling me content? You are deliberately missing my point. You are so determined to make your sexual opinions of my appearance known that you are totally disrespecting my lack of consent to receive such comments. I'm going to restrict you now. Obviously, I can't stop you from insisting to use my material in a sexual manner, but that's an indictment on you for being so rude and demeaning. Good luck on learning to be better. There we go. Screenshot of the pervert so I can shame them on social media. Saving the screenshot of no, not memes. Save it to my web screenshot. I have a website screenshot perverts folder. OF Los 1. And then scroll down to part 2. Save screenshot as OF Los part 2. Cool. Now, restrict. That is one of the things that OnlyFans lets you do that I really like, is they basically have a mute where they can still see what you comment, but they can't comment. Or at least, yeah, they can't comment. You don't see their comments or whatever. I really wish more platforms have that, especially like Instagram, because like I had the situation earlier today that I already did a video about this fucking insane nudist Trumper. And I laid an epic smackdown on him, but he'll never see it because I blocked him. I really wish Instagram had a mute option. That is one thing that I miss from Twitter. There's basically 3 things that I miss from Twitter. I miss the mute button. I miss being able to easily use animated GIFs as a reply, especially as a form of trolling assholes and perverts, because it's hilarious to just reply with like the "why are you so obsessed with me" GIF and see them rage, and I miss getting up-to-date news. You know, depending on who you follow, a lot of disinformation. But yeah, I quit Twitter in November 2022. It just got too fucking bad. Elon is a psycho, and his simps are even worse. So now I'm on Mastodon. I mean, I was on Mastodon before, but now I'm exclusively, pretty much exclusively on Mastodon. But anyway, so yeah, that piece of shit took some pictures, took some screenshots, and restricted him. Ray, massive fan, wish you would show more XX. Please show more XX. I said, go harass an actual sex worker. They said, hey, all I wanted is a foot pic, non-nude. I am not an arsehole. I said, sure, buddy. They said, I am a fan of yours, so no need to start on the wrong foot. And I read your comments on Instagram. I never said I would not pay. I spend heaps on here. Holy shit, are you missing the point? I don't care how much you offer me. I am not a sex worker. If you are trying to obtain content from me for a sexual purpose, I will not provide it, and you've made it blatantly clear over and over that you do not see me as a person, just an object of your sexual gratification. If you were actually a fan, you would stop disrespecting me by trying to buy fetish material from me after I have repeatedly stated that I don't do sex work. And no, I'm not going to fall for your bullshit. I didn't mean it that way. Defenses. The digital receipts are right there, dude. And once again, screenshot the asshole so I can save it to my pervert message folder on my drive. OF Ray foot pic. All right, saved and block. Actually, no, restrict. Remember, I gotta restrict them so they can see my epic takedown. Let's see. Oh God, NH fan. I did follow you on Twitter. I briefly tried Discord, but didn't like the platform. If I remember correctly, that's one of the people that I ended up blocking elsewhere because they were a fucking asshole. Tony M. Hey, how have you been? How have you been? Hey, hi, how are you doing? Yeah, fucking not replying to that. Am I replying to DMs on OF? Yes, I am. I don't check it very often, so I had a whole bunch of shit listed. And as I keep repeating, but I have to say it again for new people in the live, I am not a sex worker. I do not do fetish material. The reality is that, unfortunately, the only place that I can post my non-sexual female nipples for the purpose of normalizing the sight of female nipples outside of sexual situations, so that maybe we can someday have the same fucking rights as men to go topless online and in public without getting banned as sexually explicit nudity, is on porn sites. I can literally only post my non-sexual female nipples on porn sites. That's why I have an OF account. I don't do sexual content. I can't stop men from treating my stuff as sexual content. But here I am on TikTok with my shirt on, preaching the good word about topless equality, and I already still have stuff banned, even fully clothed. And yeah, I just don't. If only I could get some men, some fucking cis men, to make their own videos about topless inequality and to show the ridiculousness that they're allowed to go topless online and in public without getting banned as sexually explicit nudity, but I can't sit here without a shirt on without getting banned, but some other fucking woman can wear a teacup bikini and deep throat a banana and she doesn't get banned as sexually explicit, but I do. All right, I'm done. That's it. That's all the messages. Oh, wait, no, we got a new one since I was just here. Do you do custom content or curious how your OnlyFans works since you say you aren't a sex worker, but it's all paid? I don't do custom content. I have to use porn sites because they are the only ones that allow non-sexual female nipples. Nothing I have here. Let's see. I am banned from monetization when I'm not banned outright. And I have to remake content to, or remake accounts too frequently to amass the numbers needed to get sponsors to return my inquiries. So selling photos online is literally my only method of raising any kind of funding for video hosting, software, subscriptions, etc., or God forbid any kind of compensation for the many hours that go into creating all the content I put up totally for free. It's definitely not the way I wish things were, but this is how it is. Every single video of mine that I've ever done is completely free, so I think having a handful of digital photos for sale as my sole method of fundraising is okay. And then while I was doing that, they wrote, if it isn't for sexual purposes, why do we need to pay for your posts? So if, let's see. So if you commissioned a painting of your persona or whatever, you wouldn't pay for it. Photography is art, even if it has female nipples visible in it. They're typing! Let's see what they say before I restrict them. This is exciting! We're gonna live see what bullshit the next pervert pulls out. To recap the conversation for people who just joined, yes, I am checking Onlyfans DMs. The only reason I have an Onlyfans is because the only place I can post my heinous non-sexual female nipples is on porn sites, because mainstream photos like places like this will ban female nipples in any and all circumstance as sexually explicit porn, while look for like guy pool, guy working out, blah, blah, blah. You will find fuck tons of men naked down to their Speedos being very sexually explicit, and they're not banned. Fuck everything. Fuck the patriarchy. So if it was okay to post nudity on, let's say, Instagram, you would charge for it? No, I would not. The payment is for the photo to keep for the purposes of normalizing female nipples. It's all free. I can't stop people from using my content as sexual. I can only keep repeating myself and hope that there are some needles in the haystack who will go, I misspelled haystack, who will go, oh, I see, I won't keep listening to your content then. I also don't do full nude anymore because I am tired of news trying to use me for their own purposes, and I hate doing anything just because perverts want me to. My focus, if I hit enter and I start typing, OnlyFans like messes up. Let's see. I also don't do full nudity anymore because I am tired of news trying to use me for their own purposes, and I hate doing anything just because perverts want me to. I was gonna say something and I forgot what it was. Damn it. I was gonna add to that. Let's see. Was someone to offer you a big tip, you wouldn't accept it. A big tip for custom content? No. If you just want to send money so that I can improve the quality of my videos, I have patreon.com/toplesstopics, or some methods for one-time donations at toplesstopics.org/donate. But I will never produce explicit content because I am not a sex worker. Whoops, I didn't say it wrong. Let's see. I support those who are. Sex work is work, but that's not my purpose here. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, where the only place I can post my female is on places that allow because we haven't yet convinced mainstream platforms that it's more profitable to not assign levels of censorship based on what gender you look like. Anyway, I have to go. Gotta wait for it to post. Anyway, I have to go. Hopefully you understand my dilemma. Even if it's confusing, I've explained it the best I can. I mean, they were a little less shitty than I was expecting, but still plenty of opportunity for them to turn into a shitbag. I mean, they're a male on a sex site, so the odds of them being a shitbag are pretty high. But we'll see. I'll let them respond one more time. Where can I see your videos like? Google Topless Topics Lamau. See? Again, this is the fucking rock and a hard place that I'm at, where because female nipples are fetishized, regardless of circumstance, I can't do anything to stop people from treating it as sexually explicit. How much effort? I don't always. Well, like, this is, I haven't checked it in like weeks. And the only reason I even have it is just to post like links to my new videos and like, hey, I'm live streaming now, because, you know, because I'm so shadow banned. I am in a very, when I'm not banned outright, I'm shadow banned, meaning like you can look for my account online and you'll basically find very few results. And like on YouTube, I keep getting strikes. Like I can't link to my own website, or YouTube bans it as a sexually explicit link. I got banned for linking to somebody's Discord because I did an interview with someone who is an intersex intactivist, basically anti-circumcision, but they prefer to call it intactivist because anti-circumcision, I forget how they put it. But anyway, they have a Discord that's a resource community for intersex people, which is people born without clearly defined, male, female genitals. And I linked to their Discord, linked to that. YouTube gave me a strike for that. I've gotten YouTube strikes for linking to tweets of mine before I quit Twitter, a Tumblr post. So I don't post any links. I don't post any hyperlinks to YouTube anymore because I never know what they're going to give me a strike for yet. Next, I also get a lot of bans on fully censored content. I've had one of my infamous stories is there is a channel on YouTube called Normalizing Nudity, and he does full he basically will interview someone about why they're a nudist. And it's mostly women because he's also an erotic photographer, and most basically the only people who are willing to be naked on screen are sex workers and cis male nudists because they love an opportunity to show off their dick, which is totally understandable because your life can very easily be ruined if so much as a topless photo comes out. You know, if you're a woman, you will lose jobs, you will lose friends and family members. You could even get like people who like file a child abuse case against you, like that happened to the woman in Utah who was changing out her shirt, and so she was briefly topless in front of her like 12 and 14-year-old stepkids, and so the birth mom said that she was sexually harassing them or sexually abusing them or something, and so it literally went to the court and she had to pay a fine for briefly changing her shirt in front of her kids, which is wild because why do breasts exist? To feed babies. So it's like, at what age do they become? Oh, it's so fucking stupid. Anyway, point being that I'm banned everywhere. And so I have to be on all these platforms. I have to keep remaking accounts. I am constantly like begging people to tell others about my content because there's really no organic discoverability with my stuff. Certainly not whenever, you know, I actually am topless, which is on my peertube, which is basically self-hosted videos because there's no non-porn sites where I can post merely female nipples in any and all circumstance. Yeah. Anyway, as I've been lamenting throughout this stream, which I am going to end because it's been 2 fucking hours, most of it was good. I had an unexpected sort of interview with a non-binary black kink role player, Pup Locrian, I think his name. I don't know. I can't remember his name, but that was really fun. For like an hour, they popped in and we chatted about all sorts of stuff. So, but yeah, I'm stuck in this situation where I can't monetize any of my content because on the platforms that even allow monetization, I can't monetize it. My accounts are flat out, I cannot monetize. They won't let me because they keep removing my content as sexually explicit nudity, because female nipples in any and all circumstance is sexually explicit nudity, but men can be fucking wearing a Speedo and hip thrusting towards the camera, fully topless, and they're not banned as sexually explicit nudity. So I can't monetize, and I can't get sponsors to return my emails. And so literally the only way I can ever raise any money is either beg people to join my Patreon, which, unfortunately, because it's me behind all of Topless Topics, I do all the video planning, all the scripting when I do scripts. I'm trying to get into scripts because I tend to be very rambly, but it's still kind of new for me. Video editing, uploading, writing the descriptions to it, making the social media posts for it, arranging interviews, filming the interviews, you know, everything that goes into making content is all on me. And plus that, I'm a mother to a 5 and 7-year-old, and like they're home right now because all week the school's been closed for snow days. So, you know, I'm amazed they're being quiet right now. They're probably breaking something. Anyway, yeah, so unfortunately, I just don't have the spoons to have, like, you know, special perks on Patreon. You also have to be really careful about special perks. Like, you can't have anything custom for some reason on Patreon. I assume that it's like an anti-sex worker measure or something like that. So I couldn't, like, you can't even do like shout outs really, like on Patreon. You can elsewhere. But yeah, so I can't really do special perks on Patreon. So then the only other, and so I don't really have Patreon donors very much because they sign up, and even though I say everywhere I'm not a sex worker, I don't do sexual content, I just have to use sex sites because those are the only ones that allow female nipples. People sign up for Patreon and then they're like, "Where's my porn?" And I'm like, "I don't do porn." And then they rage quit and they quit. You know, they leave it. My kids see my tits all the time. They don't fucking care. None of us care. We're all nudists. The only reason that men see female nipples as sexual is because female nipples are only outside of the house, are only allowed to be seen in sexual situations. There are no places online or out in the public where female nipples are allowed to exist unless they allow full nudity. And especially online, the only places that allow full nudity are sex sites. So kids do not have anything that says, you know, oh, female nipples are sexual. You, the patriarchy, is the one saying, oh, female nipples are female nipples are nudity and nudity is sexually explicit. So it's amazing. It's just like racism. If you don't teach kids to hate, if you don't teach kids to see female nipples as profane sexual objects, then they don't. Just like if you don't teach kids to hate people of different races, they don't. And again, as I've been saying in previous videos, the only reason that you freak out over female nipples, but don't freak out over like elbows and shoulders and ankles and the back of the neck or whatever, is because you live in a society that doesn't consider the back of a woman's neck as sexually explicit nudity. Otherwise, you would be scandalized at the back of a woman's neck if people said, if society said that's scandalous. And you go to there's countries you could go to where a woman will be killed for having her hair visible. So slippery slope. Anyway, all right, cool. So we're gonna end the stream with some demeaning shit. Thanks for going back to what you're known for, TikTok. But maybe someday I can figure out how to get the people that are not just garbage, pervy haters to find my stuff. So, and if you're okay with helping me make better content and aren't gonna demand porn in return that I will never produce, you can go to patreon.com/toplesstopics. I don't have any special perks because I don't have the time to make them, but that will help me pay for video editing software and hosting and stuff like that. So, you can go do that. All right.